Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, and this is my next video, Roadmap to Careers in Healthcare. So in this I will be going over certain paths, certain routes you can take by what bachelor, what major you want to do, and what classes what you need to take and which classes you should not take. So this will hopefully be a better guide so people aren't completely lost and not really sure what to do and what not to do. So in this manner, you can pick any major. You could even double major. You can even pick minors or even double minor. So the point is we will be talking about, like I said, there's multiple different routes you can go in undergraduate studies, or maybe even after you taking your coursework, you can straight apply to medical or dental school, whichever school you're trying to go to, pharmacy school, and once you get the interview, then it should not. Then there's a possibly chance some schools may not even require you to get a bachelor's. Now it is a risky route because if you do not get a bachelor's, or you do not have an interview, then it's recommended that you should get a bachelor's so you have a more of a competitive edge. However, there are some students who sometimes struggle in getting interviews, so sometimes they do a post-bachelor's degree, which they try to use it to improve their GPA as well as be more competitive. Now, for my case, what I'm going to share about myself is I'm an anthropology major. I got an associate degree in life science, and then I have a certificate in Southeast Asian Studies, as well as two minors, one minor in physical science, and then the other minor in Asian American Studies. Now, I did all these minors in this certificate and then my major in something different to make myself unique. Now, we'll be talking more about that in the next slide, but yeah. So now, as I earlier was when I was talking about the major, I was saying you should pick something you're interested in. Pick anything you are interested in, so that when you are doing your undergraduate and you're taking your other your coursework, pick something that you will feel will help make your load easier, something that will help maintain your GPA or give you a high GPA, something interesting. It can literally be anything. It can be a language, it can be, art, history, music, or it can be women's studies. Like, these are all majors, they're all fine. As long as you can find, just pick, my advice is to pick something diverse for it. Or, something unique where people often don't take it. And then just whatever you pick, find it as a way to relate to a career choice. For example, when you pick any major, a music major, and then you go into healthcare or something, and then they ask you, why did you pick music? You could say, oh, there's sometimes, music could be used as a some sort of method of, helping patients get better. I mean, I'm not sure, I'm just making it up as I go, but you can, whatever major you pick, you have to make it a way to relate to your career choice, so that when they ask in the interview, then you can, conjoin those two, and then you can explain, and then this will actually make you look unique. For example, if there's history, you could talk about, if you major in history, you could talk about the history of medicine or the history of back then people. Though, and then, for example, what I did, the major I picked specifically, I picked anthropology, which is the study of other people's culture. And in anthropology, how I went about it is I'm saying that we as healthcare professionals, or we as physicians, we have to be aware, or at least have some sort of understanding of patients' cultural backgrounds or their needs. This way we'll be able to better cater to them. Now this shows that this person, he's empathetic, that he's understanding, he's able to communicate with patients. If this, well, one, it makes me look unique, and two, this really, makes me a better ideal choice, because it shows I'm taking an extra length to take, to be more better serving to my patients. So this major, I also like it because I do like studying about other people's culture. I'm fascinated by other people's culture, by their backgrounds, their heritage. So this is something I'm interested in personally, which is why I picked anthropology. Now, that being said, you also want to realize that, think about this also in the long run. Like, for example, if, God forbid, you do not be able to get into any kind of health professional, and try to realize that, is this something I could do for the rest of my life as a backup? Is there any careers in this field? For me, realistically, in anthropology, there's not that many career choices, but I still full-heartedly wanted to try into medicine, so I still pushed myself. So, like I said, just think about it. Like, if you use an engineer as a backup and try to go into healthcare, that's still possible. Or even biology. There's many career choices in biology. But that being said, you have to, like, whatever when you pick a major and you're choosing a different major where it may not necessarily have a lot of career choice, it is a gamble because it depends on how well you do. But then that's when you know you have to really push yourself. And I'm sure then it will. It's like it's like a double-edged sword. But on my honest opinions, I would still pick something unique, but then just try, push myself, to show myself, that there's no other backup. This is it, and hopefully, that will, if anything, give you more of a boost or motivation to not mess up. Now, for the classes you have to take, the coursework, you can take it in any order you wish. So sometimes you could straight up start with taking physics. You could even delay it all the way till your last few semesters or your last 2 years. Or you can just finish them all out. And the classes you need to take depend on which school you apply to. However, in my honest opinion, it's better to be safe than sorry, and you take majority of all those classes that they require. So that way you'll be able to universally apply to all the dental schools, medical schools, pharmacy schools. So that way you're not excluded and then you don't feel handicapped by those classes. Now, as I was saying earlier, what I did, I initially took all those prerequisite classes in the first 2 years. So I actually ended up finishing up, and then in the last 2 years, I just focused on my major, which was anthropology. So for me, initially it was challenging, but then my last 2 years was a breeze. Now you do this based on whatever you can handle. You can either get them out of the way, or you can just do it till your last 2 years. My recommending is maybe take it at a time, one step at a time. Do the first semester, maybe take one of these grad classes, and then do it with one of your major classes, or with a GE class. I would say space them out and do it whatever is more convenient for you. Or you could do what I did, like take them all out, take all these classes in the first 2 years and get them done. Or, you can post it, and delay it. But my honest opinion is I would say mix and match, and first just try to get a handle of things. You don't want to overburden yourself, because then if you do, then you don't want to drop your GPA, because they don't just look at your cumulative GPA, your cumulative GPA, they also look at your GPA for each classes and coursework that you got. So you have to be very careful. So the reason why I put University of Illinois Chicago was because at the time I used to live in Illinois, so I was applying for their dental school. However, I no longer live in Illinois, so I've now accepted to Michigan Dental School. So for them, they have a different standards of classes and everything. But I use them as an example so that you have a general idea. So here, it says that, you have to take chemistry, 2 semesters with lab, organic chemistry, 2 semesters, as well as biology, 2 semesters, and then yeah, yeah, and then as well as physics, 2 semesters, English, 2 semesters, and then biochemistry with no lab. And then they said that if you want to be competitive, you should take human anatomy, human physiology, histology, microbiome, cell bio, molecular bio, and then immunology and genetics. Now, some schools, what they do is they say, yeah, sometimes you don't have to take the lab. Like here, I can't tell if they want you to take the lab or not. But chemistry, they say take the lab, and organo, you just take the class. You don't need the lab. This is something similar in medicine as well, in med schools. But my honest opinion, again, if you do that, you only apply like to some medical or dental schools. You're not really sure if that school will even offer you an interview or even accept you. So my honest opinion is take organic chemistry with lab. For both classes, take both organic chemistry classes. And to be competitive, definitely take your human anatomy, definitely take human physiology. They will definitely make your first year in healthcare, whatever graduate school you go to, definitely easier. What I personally did is I took 2 semesters of chemistry with lab, 2 semesters of organic chemistry with lab, 2 bio semesters with lab, 2 physics with labs, the algebra based one, and then I took English 2 semesters. I took one biochemistry, which also I have to note they want you to take that in a 4-year university. They will not accept it if you take it in a community college. It has to be in a 4-year university and it has to be online. And then there's some schools that do not accept AP credits. So you have to definitely you may end up having retaking the course in the college because medical or dental schools they might not accept AP credits, so you have to end up taking it. And then what I did to be competitive, I took human anatomy, I took human physiology, I took microbiology, and then I took genetics. Now, microbiology, they say for some schools they require to, like most of them are now starting to require them. So just to be safe, sorry, I would just take them. Now, in this slide, this is the general website, www.adea.org. So this is the general website for all the dental, for all the students applying to dentistry. So since I'm focusing more on dentistry, this is the one, since I did dentistry, this is the one I'm going to focus on. Now, what they say is that their known prerequisite coursework, now this is just general and broad for all dental schools, and they said typically, as I said earlier, 2 semesters of biology with lab, 2 semesters of general chemistry with lab, 2 semesters of organic chemistry with lab, and 2 semesters of physics with lab. Now, the physics one, you can either do algebra or calculus, but my honest opinion is make your life easier and just take the algebra-based one. Unless if you're doing engineering major, then of course you're going to have to take calculus base, which should still count. And then, as I said earlier, biochemistry at a 4-year university. And however here, I added anatomy and physiology because I feel like it's a must. It's absolutely necessary. It will definitely make your life easier for the first year for all your healthcare schools. So again, I say take it. They also heavily emphasized on it, on make you competitive. And I believe now schools are now asking you to take it. I remember in some of my interviews for dental school, they asked me if I had some of these prerequisites completed. So now anatomy physiology is now being required, I believe. So I would say take those for sure. Now, one thing I should definitely note and convey is the type of university or college you attend. So it does matter, but not as much as you guys would think. For example, say you went to a state university and you have a 4.0, and then or as opposed to someone who went to a UC school, like University of UC Davis or UC Merced, and they got a 3.7 GPA. Most medical or dental schools will highly emphasize the 4.0 over the 3.4. So it shows you that yes, it matters, but at the end of the day, it's just that one sprinkle or one cherry on the top, that's it. It's just the extra fluff, which will only matter if these were both 4.0s. If the 4.0 against state school versus the 4.0 UC school, University of School, or UC school, then the 4.0 UC school student will be then picked. However, like I said, it just depends. It's all, my advice, I believe you should definitely go to state school, save your money, go to a community college, do your first 2 years there. Definitely you save money. You'll be easier to able to maintain your GPA. You'll save your money and you save your grades. Now, for example, I'm going to share a story. My older brother, what he did was my parents ended up to him out of state. When we lived in Illinois, they sent him to Wisconsin, where in Wisconsin, he was in a very good school, University of Madison, so it was a prestigious school. However, his GPA really dropped down to the high twos or something, which he had to then repeat 2 years of his bachelor's of just retaking classes just to get that grades up. And as opposed to me, what I did, I went to a local community college, then I transferred to a state university. What I did is my GPA is 3.97. With my brother, it was maybe just a bit above 3, and he struggled in, going to med school. I mean, eventually, alhamdulillah, he got accepted. But with me, I was able to get immediately more interviews and more acceptances due to my GPA, and show that I went to a state school as opposed to my brother going to a university prestigious school, which shows you and proves that it's better to go to state school, save your money, go to community college. It's not necessary to go abroad or to another state. You'll only end up like screwing yourself. Now, there are certain medical schools or dental schools that have limits on community college credits. So if you go over, it may hinder your process in being accepted by certain schools or even given an interview. For example, for me, like I had taken a lot of community college credits. However, and it did cause me a lot of schools to like reject me or schools not to consider me. And some schools still accepted me because they knew I had a high GPA and my DAT score was high. But my advice is, in order to like not grow the hassle, increase your chance to be accepted by more, take the most hardest classes at the one that are most difficult of your science classes and take them at community college. Try to take all your GE and whatever classes you think you need to take, or the least difficult ones at your four-year university. Like, for example, you can take organic chemistry, physics at community college, then biology and chemistry, which aren't too bad, you can take at the four-year university. And below I will put a link and attachment for the dental school stats so that you can look which school, which dental school will look and understand like how many community college credits they accept, and so would know how much you should go over and how much you should not go over. It's a general guide. It's not it's from 2017, so it's not exactly fully up to date, but it should give you a general idea, and I doubt they changed that much. So upcoming next, inshallah, will be I will be doing extracurriculars on what activities you can to make yourself look appealing to pharmacy school, medical school, and dental schools. Then I will also be talking about personal statements, which most schools, medical and dental schools, or all type of graduate schools, they require some sort of personal statement as to why you want to pursue that career. So I will share mine as an example and explain how one should write that. And then I will also explain on the DAT tips and advice how one can take that, how I did mine, what numbers I got, and how I did that. And then after that, I will also do a meeting Casper, and then after that, interview tips and advice. And then there'll be more videos inshallah coming. So thank you again for coming and watching for this one, and definitely subscribe for more content. Thank you, and assalamu alaikum.